You have to truly believe in the magic.
Welcome, Magic fans, to episode 144 of the Penny for Your Thoughts podcast from Orlando Magic UK. Today, I'm joined by the content king of Middle England, Mr. Paul Bacon, and the Fresh Prince of Cardiff himself, the G-Man, Mr. Geraint Jones. Look at this. Will Smith's got nothing on you at all.
Will Smith's very happy he's got nothing on G.
He couldn't touch G. No way. Paul, how's
Hammer can't touch it.
Is it hammer time, Paul? How's it going, Paul?
Very well, my friend. Thank you very much. Yeah, doing really well. What about yourself, mate?
Yeah, not too bad. I've been enjoying the content that you've been putting out, hence your new moniker to start the pod with. If anyone hasn't seen it, Paul's been the face that runs the place with these previews.
Yeah, they seem to go down quite well. It's just thought as we said, we just thought we'd try something different and try and make the whole game preview that we do a little more accessible. So yeah, it's been good.
Awesome stuff, mate. Well done.
Watch out for the 30 team previews that I'm doing at the moment, running down each of the NBA teams. They're coming soon.
Getting those names in there, eh?
Oh God, don't start.
Yeah. So
take 45.
There is a story to this. I was recording the Charlotte one before we started recording the pod, and they're each only going to be sort of 3 to 5 minutes long. And I got to the end of the Charlotte one, and it got down to the point where I'm looking at the players that have been added to a team, and I'm running through it, and it got to Frank. I'll forget it. Just hit delete on the whole episode that I'd recorded, and I'll have to figure out how to say his name, practice off of air before I start. I'd just not seen it was there. I embarrassed myself as usual.
It's going to be like Anchorman, isn't it? Where it's going to be like you sitting there and it's like unique New York and the arsonist had oddly shaped feet and things like that.
I still can't remember how to say his name. Frank
Ntilikina.
I just can't say it. God help me.
And I've got to ask David.
I've got about another 27 teams to do after that, so there's bound to be a few more that I make a complete idiot of myself on.
We're here for it, mate.
The outtake video. God, it's been longer than any pod that we ever do.
It's going to get some hits. I can see it now. G, Fresh Prince of Cardiff. I know your cap there was a bit of a clue for what's coming, but how's things?
Yeah, good. Thank you, mate. Obviously, very excited for the Magic season. You know, we get a bit of nostalgia. We get the Stars jerseys with they borrowed the back of my my corner of my spare bedroom here just to take the shots. So I thought I'd rock the old Eastern Conference Champions 1995 T-shirt.
That's a really good looking T-shirt. Where did that T-shirt come from?
It come from Sunderland, I think, mate.
It did come from Sunderland. I was walking past it. I saw it hanging up, and I went, I think I know who might like this.
And you went back for it, which I am very appreciative of.
In the rain, G.
In the rain. Next pint's on me, mate. Next pint's on me. Yeah, it's a right throwback.
With the number of pints you owe me and Gary, you are going to be absolutely brassic by the time we walk away from you.
That's fine, mate. Don't worry about it.
In fact, we won't be able to walk away from you. I was that many.
I'm just thinking there, Paul, if we can go to one of those really expensive Disney bars that Angus was on about.
Yeah, let's do it.
Oh, no, no. There's a Weatherspoon in Cardiff, I know. So
don't do Weatherspoons, mate. Not for me, Clive. So on today's pod, we're going to be joined by the legendary David Steele. So G, you had your cap on there to start with. Do you want to just flash it to the YouTube audience once more time? A cap, flash the cap. Right. Is this anything? And look at that. And we are going to be putting a few questions to him to get his expert insights as we head into the 35th season of Orlando Magic basketball. We're going to be reflecting on our return to the Amway for the first home preseason game against the Pelicans, a game which to me felt like almost like a regular season game with the hype I saw on my socials. More retro happenings, as we know. Markel Fultz has been in G's house this week, filming for the jersey drops and such. A few early season player predictions from around the league, and we're going to field a couple of questions from a Patreon member and from a listener to the pod. So, speaking of Patreon, as you know, we have our own Orlando Magic UK Patreon service. It's a subscription one linked to what we do at orlandomagic.uk.com. We're not doing this for personal profit, but we plan to use this to improve content, exclusive perks, and follower giveaways. As has been mentioned previously, we have a 3-tier membership system. We've got the Shack at £2 a month, the Anderson at £5, and the T-Mac at £10. Entrants for the Anderson and McGrady tiers will be entered into a draw, and this prize, what we're going to run through, is the classic jersey, which is very similar to the Mitchell and Ness jersey, which is behind Paul there. And we've got the Nike variant of that up for grabs. And just like to take a moment really to shout out our Patreons, which are Sean Moore, Ollie Law, Gary Clark, Drummy Drum Drum, Dylan Holden, Paolo and Franz Warmth, Liam Radbourne, Alan Kane, Tom Sohn, Andy Lindley, and Stuart Benzie. So the list is growing. I hope I haven't missed anyone off there.
No, but I got to correct you on one thing. It's drummy, drum.
I do apologize.
You got to get it right, Gar.
I'll never get that right. I'll never get it right.
But don't start getting it right. He'll be due a refund.
All right. Well, great. But fellas, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Thanks for supporting the pod, and yeah, good luck to whoever, may the odds be in your favor for the jersey draw. So, the Pelicans, we saw a return to the Amway versus the Pelicans. We lost 92-104. My take on the game was, as the game seemed to fall away, obviously it's preseason. We gave out minutes and experimented towards the end. I think that's totally fine for preseason. I felt Zion looked spectacular in just 16 minutes for the Pelicans. I'll be honest with you, I'm pleased to see that. It's not a magic player, but the potential he had, the hype, what he can do, I want to see players at their best. He put up a quick 16 points in 16 minutes. And when you look at it, if him, Valanciunas and Brandon Ingram stay healthy, I think that's a pretty beastly front court in the West. And you're throwing in CJ McCollum as well. For the Magic, going by the points per minute thing, Franz Wagner went a little bit better. So only Franz put up 19 points in 19 minutes. And he got 16 points in 16 minutes from his brother Mo Wagner off the bench. Shout out, 3 blocks in 10 minutes came from Jonathan Isaac. And it looks like, and this is something I was really encouraged about, we've talked about it before, whether Jalen Suggs' good shooting towards the end of last season would carry over. And it looks like in preseason so far as though that might be the case with the 3-point shot. So fingers crossed. Paul, I'm going to come to you first as the content king. I'm going to stick with that, by the way. There's been a lot of talk about what the starting lineup would be. We're now 3 games into preseason, and it would appear that we're going to see Wendell, Paolo, Franz, Markel, and Jalen as the opening night 5, all being healthy. What's your thoughts on that?
I've got to be honest, I very much like the cohesive nature of this 5. I think they play well together. I'm going to start with Wendell. He's a real physical presence who can match up well to most centres, and he seems to relish that challenge. He's much improved on his 3-point shot, and he has the feeling of a guy who's ready to take a huge step forward in the season. Paolo and Franz, we've talked ad infinitum about them, but they just seem to be a pair of players who just gel together. And all this I'm seeing about who's the best player between them, I don't care. Just stop. It doesn't matter. They are both superb talents, and they're both on our team. Enjoy them. Paolo still needs to make some improvement on efficiency, but he appears to be less of a first option scorer in this preseason. He seems to be such a willing passer that we've seen his assist rate go up, and that's been really interesting to see. I'm hoping that once the season starts properly, because I don't think he's gone full at it yet. that we then start to see him get himself more to the basket again. He doesn't seem to have played as hard, and I'm good with that. Franz, he's just got an instinctive shot. That ability to drive or just cut to the basket is fantastic. And as I say, that partnership he's got with Paolo, the team's benefited from it beyond what I think anybody ever expected to have from them pair. I keep using the word about it, that they've got this understanding, this telepathic understanding that they just know where one another's going to be. And it doesn't matter who scores as far as they're concerned, so long as we do. It's good to see egos being put to one side. Backcourt combination of Jalen and Markel, that looks really good. Suggs is his shooting's looking much improved, but we've got to remember how much it improved back end of last season. His field goal percentage really grew. He's had his first summer without disruption, and he looks primed to take a leap. Defensive ability is clear for anyone to see, but what sometimes goes unnoticed with him is his ability to hit a pass. He can look and see a pass. The American football quarterback in him it gives him that ability. I love to see it. Personally, I love the guy who goes out and proves the skeptics wrong. Markel, wow, just showed what the player he is, what importance he is to us by how he came back in last season, how he changed our season round. Can he have a better scoring record and be a greater threat from deep? Certainly. But again, I'm going to say I don't think that's the be-all and end-all with a point guard. He's scoring, but he's creating opportunities for others, and he's also a strong defensive presence. And if this five have defense as their calling card, they are giving us a firm foundation to develop into a playoff contender and be a top 10 defensive team.
Yeah, absolutely. I kind of disagree with any of that. And I know I was going to ask G specifically about this a little bit later on, but I'm going to jump to it now. Like, G, obviously, I'm going to ask your thoughts on this, but also could you comment a bit about the Suggs and Fultz backcourt, which I'm sure will be something close to your heart. And we've alluded to the Suggs shooting. It looks like it's translating as well. How's that going to affect things, do you think, going forward this season?
Yeah, no, definitely, agree with absolutely everything Paul says. Firstly, just to pick up on how the sort of starters did, in the game against New Orleans. Obviously, first quarter, second quarter, that we hung around with them. We were up at the half, etc. We had Paolo, Wendell, and Markel together going 5 of 22 from the field. So, obviously France and Mo Wagner from the bench, kept us afloat. But seeing as they had, not good shooting performances, and we were still able to hang around with, like you said, Gary, a Zion Williamson who was playing very well, for a preseason game in limited minutes. It's good to see that, like Paul said, the cohesiveness with them, they're learning to play together, being in the right spots at the right time. So then on to Markel and Jalen. Obviously, we've seen Jalen's so hungry, isn't he? Absolutely, he's like a dog with a bone. Defense, crashing the boards. His 3-point shot has improved. He's just an absolute live wire that's everywhere. Markel's form looks better, so like to see that 3-point percentage improve. Like you guys said, it's not the be all and end all for a point guard, but he gets in the right places. You see some of the passes that he makes, and together, those two as a starting backcourt defensively, I wouldn't want to play against them. They're going to be right up in your grill. We're going to be seeing some steals. I know we're going to be talking about potential awards later. You'd like to think that Jalen's going to make a leap. I see him in that, category with, what's he called now? From ex-Boston Celtic. Marcus Smart, that's it. Name eluded me there for a second. Yeah, I think he could be very much like him, who obviously won the Defensive Player of the Year. Just hopefully we get a bit more attention on the Magic. So with that starting lineup, I like the way how the bench unit played together. Cole, Harris, Ingles, Jonathan Isaac defensively, and then Mo or Goga, depending on whoever's playing. No, really like the way it's coming together, and the lineup sort of the cohesiveness, like Paul said.
Absolutely. I just think it's worth, when you were mentioning about, I think Paul, you were saying there about Paolo not really going for it. There is talk that he's got this thumb injury.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. So I think that's probably playing a role. And if he's not 100% going for it, I think that's smart, because we're really more interested in what happens in the regular season.
My answer, it was based. I'm not just looking at the one New Orleans game, because it's. I don't see the point in looking at in isolation and preseason. I'm looking at the whole thing. But if we want to talk criticism of the New Orleans game that we lost, yes, you're going to look at the sloppiness with the ball. We didn't value the ball. We had too many turnovers. Mm-hmm. I think an over amount is being made of that, in all honesty, because a lot of it, or a good percentage of it, wasn't as a result of our own sloppiness. You mentioned how well Zion played. He had 4 steals, I think, in that first quarter. They, as a team, have a calling card of very, very active defensive hands. CJ McCollum is one of those guys. Zion clearly is putting himself into that position to work. Herb Jones, they've got a good starting unit, and they put a lot of pressure on us. I was impressed by the effort that they put in. But as G said, at the half, we were up. We went toe-to-toe with them, as we have done in all 3 of the preseason games. And at the point where you started seeing the core group being withdrawn, and those or end of the bench or guys who were just with us trying to make the squad, we were up and in a strong competitive position. That's where I'm interested in, not the ultimate end result once you've gone to the end of the bench.
Yeah, absolutely. So, G, I'm going to come to you on this one. It's a slight different turn, but if we're looking, the team doesn't feature Nate Tibbetts, and we now know that he's taken on the head coach position, and we're all going to say, first of all, well done to Nate Tibbetts for this. Congratulations for the Phoenix Mercury in the WNBA. He's allegedly going to be the highest paid coach in the league from what was floating around. But how big a loss is this to the Magic? And also, what does this appointment tell us about the Magic now?
Well, obviously, any sort of loss to a coaching staff is always going to be, detriment to the what we're trying to do to the system, etc. But there's other coaches: Jesse Mermis, Dale Osborne, Brett Brielmeyer, I think he's called, Lionel Chalmers. So you got guys there who experienced, who were there for Coach Mosley. Ultimately, Coach Mosley's, he's a decision maker. The others are there to, work with Coach Mosley. I'm sure we'll bring somebody else in. I haven't heard any sort of rumors or anything like that. But ultimately, everything's down to the players. The coaches are there to put the players in a position to win, get the system right, get the defense right, get the plays right, work off the court. Coach Tibbetts, fair play to him. He's earned this. He's coached on a few ball clubs, the Cavs, etc. So getting a head coach opportunity only speaks volumes to the work he has done to assist, Coach Mosley and all the work he's done, all the other previous teams. So he's obviously, going to be a big miss. But I'm sure, there's probably a succession plan or we'll bring somebody else along. But ultimately, Coach Mosley's the main man, and who we look to, and the backroom staff. We'll find somebody else. Not to knock. I want to seem like I'm not knocking Nate Tibbetts, but it's going to be a miss. But I think we can get somebody else in.
Absolutely. Paul, how would you follow on from G there?
I think G's somebody took quite nicely. I mean, the timing isn't ideal, just days away from the start of the season to have that little bit of a disruption. But we're not the first team to have gone through this. You look at the number of people who have been assistants to Coach Pop at the Spurs, who are coaching within the league. You look at the number of people that have been alongside Steve Kerr at the Warriors, who are coaching elsewhere. It's a mark of success. It's a mark of the job that is being done by that coaching staff, where those people are getting opportunities elsewhere. And you would expect, as G said, that there is some form of continuity there. We've got the rest of the coaching unit in place. It's not like everybody's got up and gone. It's one person, albeit an important person within that grouping. It will be interesting to see who the Magic replacing within that role. Do we see somebody who has an association with the Magic? So be it an ex-player who comes back in or something of that nature. Do we see somebody who's worked with Coach Mosley in the past in his previous roles? But without knowing what's happening to replace him, it's also something that's worth bearing in mind, in that we have, with the G League affiliation, a set of coaches there who work within the same infrastructure as we see in the Orlando Magic. So there's the opportunity perhaps to promote from within, so to speak.
Yeah.
So, which would then perhaps keep more of a continuity because they are using the same systems.
It's a really interesting point when you're talking there about teams who've got reputations like the Spurs and the Warriors for what they can develop. And I think people are going to be listening to the Magic now. And if you're a team who are looking to be progressive, and I think the whole message of the WNBA to start with is being progressive. I think that's one of the calling cards for it from what I've seen of the WNBA. But I would also say with the Magic, it's a young team. It's got a lot of characters on it. There's been a big leap. Coach Mosley was with the select team, so it's been noted there. This is also the ball club that has rehabbed Markel Fultz. Like he was basically just given up on as a bust out of Philadelphia, and he's been rehabbed. And we've also really done that with Jonathan Isaac.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of good will, probably on nods or inside nods towards the Magic in that respect. A name that's done the rounds, and I'm aware of the Orlando Magic League Nothing card that rightly is played all over social media. For a name that's doing the rounds on Magic Pods tonight is Terry Stotts.
Yeah.
So he's parted ways. I think he was at the Bucks, and he's parted ways with them today. And there's been a couple of people saying about how he's got, like maybe a link to the Magic as somebody who would come in and be an experienced coach to help out Coach Mosley.
Yeah,
he'd be fantastic.
That'd be a great signing.
Yeah,
that'd be a great addition.
It would be interesting now, though. It would be interesting when you consider when we had that long coaching, who was going to take over from Steve Clifford, and like who would it be? Who would want to go to Orlando? If you remember, national media putting us down a pecking order. And now I'm not saying Terry Stotts was someone who I wanted as the Magic coach, because I didn't. But when you've got an NBA pedigree head coach being talked about as an assistant in Orlando, it goes back to how are the Magic coaching staff, the Magic regime, the front office, and the potential now being viewed around the league differently to what they were.
It's bringing another veteran voice into the organization.
Yeah.
If that's the way that the team go, it's bringing a veteran, experienced voice in, which can only be a good thing.
Yeah. Absolutely. I thought that was huge. And I'm just going to throw this question out there. I know there's been, I think, G, you alluded to it. Paul, I was going to ask you this first, but I'm going to jump to G first, if that's all right.
Do it, of course, it is, mate.
Yeah, we've got this minute split between Mo and Goga about who's going to be the backup, and then we've got Jonathan Isaac's shadow that's looming large as a big. What's the minutes going to be? Is it going to be one or the other? Is it going to be situational? Is it going to be Jonathan Isaac? G, how do you see the cards falling on this one?
For me, from what I've seen so far, and hearing Jonathan's playing, I thought potentially they might have kept him. If we're playing 3 games in 4 nights, they might have rested him. Well, we'll see what happens with that. But in terms, I think it's just down to the setback of centre role. I think Isaac is going to play. Isaac's just you've seen him. He's everywhere, isn't he? So 3 blocks in 10 minutes Tuesday night. Absolutely brilliant. Goga and Mo, I think, is situational. I like what both bring. I like Mo's chippiness, but Goga does some things that Mo can't do. He's deep in the weeds, down in the paint, whereas Mo's a bit more pick and roll, pick and pop. So there's, again, situational, depending on who you're playing against. I just like having them both there as an option. If you say to me one or the other, I couldn't. And that's why I'm glad we got Coach Mosley to make that decision, because I'll just roll with what he says, to be honest.
Paul, how would you react to that?
I think every game is to some extent situational anyway. Somebody's having a bad night, you get a rotation that doesn't quite work, or they opposition play something that you weren't expecting, go left field. You have to have the ability to change. So I do think it's always going to be situational. That being said, I think that two of the first guys that are going to be off the bench most nights are going to be Mo and Jonathan Isaac. They will probably be the guys I would suggest are going to get the first shots of minutes at the 4 and 5. You could have a position that they could be almost, I won't say positionless basketball, but they are interchangeable. Mo can certainly play some 4. He can play 5. Jonathan Isaac, why can't he play? Why shouldn't he be able to play the 5? So I think you can see them two being able to complement one another by taking each other's role. Certainly for the early part of the season, I think that they will be the first guys off the bench. I love Mo Wagner. I just think the guy brings something different.
An edge.
Yeah, it doesn't matter to him whether he gets started, whether he's starting, whether he's coming off the bench, whether he's just playing a 10-minute cameo, or whether he's got a longer minute. He's just all energy and trying 100% throughout that time. So that's where I think he provides something different and over what Bethesda does. Mo has a 3-point threat. He can set screen. He takes a charge brilliantly. And then there's that, as G said, that ability to just get under an opponent's skin. Full on energy, commitment. He's just the guy for the team. He can be the catalyst to get you going on a poor night. He's that guy. Goga, as G said, I think he's probably the more traditional 5, more measured guy. If rebounding is an issue for the team, then he's probably the guy to go for as the better option in that position. But JR will get a nod every night because he just carries such a defensive value for the team. He's a guy who can just contribute far beyond the box score. You can't look at the box score when you're looking at JR's contribution, I don't think. But ultimately, every game's going to be situational, dependent on what we've got at that particular moment. But I think Mo and JI are going to get the minutes.
Absolutely. So if we were to go from our rotations to a wider lens, we're not encouraging gambling, by the way, but gambling pools are starting to open up in the UK, and you're starting to see the usual suspects for who will be MVP, who's going to be in the playoffs and such. Paul, it's way, way, way too early I'll start with you. If I was to say MVP, Rookie of the Year, and Defensive Player of the Year, where are you sitting right now?
Because he should have won it last year, I'm going to go with Nikola Jokic as MVP. He should have won it last year. Whatever reasons came into play, he didn't, but he should have done. So I'm going for him. Though I do think with the addition of Dame Lillard, Giannis is going to push him very, very close. He'll give him a run for his money. Rookie, I know that all the smart money is on a certain Frenchman. And as everybody knows, I don't like the overhyping that there's been of him in the media. I think
Bally, did you say?
I think
That was my pick.
Mr. Victor Wembanyama is a talent. I don't dislike the guy. On what I'm seeing so far of him, he's good to watch. But I think I'm going to go with Chet Holmgren, simply because I do think that OKC are going to be involved in more winning games than the Spurs. So I think that his contribution will be perhaps valued at a greater rate by certain parts of the media than Victor's. And, oh God, Defensive Player of the Year. Absolutely zero idea ultimately. But I think Marcus Smart may have a chip on his shoulder and be wanting to go out and prove a point to Boston. And therefore, he could be a strong candidate. But I also think the Jalen Suggs could be in with a shout.
Oh, that's fair.
Gee.
Very good. On those ones,
Yeah.
So MVP, obviously, Paul's mentioned Jokic. Outsiders, Doncic. He's an outsider, but if Dallas play, well, it's all on him, isn't it? Him and Irving. So potentially Doncic, Tatum, maybe. Don't know. But no, smart money's really on Jokic.
Tatum's not a stupid shout, mate.
No, it's not. I'm just thinking of the outside bets, not just your regular, kind of favorite, Jokic, Embiid, etc. Yeah, Giannis. Rookie of the Year, I was going to go Chet as well, just to try and be different. But as soon as you went with him, I'll go Victor because he's going to be on the telly every other night. So,
mate, absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? Smart money's right there, but I think Chet's going to have a great season with OKC. And defensive player, I go Jaren Jackson Jr. myself, but there's a lot of good defensive players. You'd like to see, maybe Jalen or J.I. in the conversation. I don't think we get enough national media attention for them to be up there in the final voting. Other than those, I mean, I think Rudy Gobert is a fantastic defensive player. I don't think he gets the plaudits he deserves. I don't know why. I don't know. Maybe it's something about, Evan Fournier, Rudy Gobert. I'm not saying Fournier's a good defensive player, but I don't know, something about the French guys that it turns people off. I don't know. Gobert, I think
Victor.
Superb. No, exactly. No, that's it. Walker Kessler, OG Anunoby. I'm just trying to think of some outside of the box kind of players, not just your Jaren Jackson, your Giannis's. No, probably Jaren Jackson Jr. if I'm honest with you.
He might have a point. Again, he may be somebody who has a bit of a point to prove. I know he already has a Defensive Player of the Year award, but his defensive stock took a bit of a hit in the World Cup with Team USA. So perhaps that could be somebody who's, again, wanting to just make a statement.
Yeah. Any for you, Gary, we've forgotten?
If you're going in, I think Jokic has got to be the real favourite for it. I did have Jason Tatum as my outside pick because I think Boston's potentially going to have the best record in the league, which could then reflect the best player on the best team gets the award. Rookie of the Year, I think it's Victor Wembanyama's to lose, a bit like with LeBron, where I think Carmelo Anthony had like a brilliant season that year, but it was the hype's behind them. I think Chet's going to have a good season. I think Brandon Miller might do better than people think. I think Scoot's going to do well. If he got the minutes, and this is where my thing about Houston's at, because I don't think they should have gone for Dylan Brooks.
Cam Whitmore.
Cam Whitmore. I think Cam Whitmore just looks a real talent, and he's going to be that Michael Porter Jr. guy where people are going to look back and go, how did so many teams pass him over? Defensive Player of the Year. I think there's going to be love for Giannis in there, but I think if the Lakers have a good season, the media are going to be desperate to give them something. So I think Anthony Davis is going to get a load of hype if he plays.
Yeah, I'm glad you didn't say Austin Reeves.
Taylor Horton Tucker. No, but I think Anthony Davis, I think they'll be desperate to give the Lakers something, because I do think they've done well. And I think whenever the Lakers do well, they'll gravitate to what's Boston doing, what's LA doing.
Yeah.
They're going to get love. If the Warriors have a bounce back, people will be looking at Draymond as well. So, G, if I was to go for sixth man, most improved, and coach, where are you at?
Coach, right. Okay, I'll whip through these quite quickly. Obviously, I'd love Cole to be in the sixth man, and hopefully he is. Obviously, have a great season. Playing at all-star level that we know he's capable of. But other than him, you're looking at maybe an Emmanuel Quickly who, gets points quickly, like what I did there for the Knicks. White on the Celtics is probably going to get some love. First off the bench there in Boston, Jordan Clarkson, Norman Powell. If I was to put money on it, I'd probably stick it with Derek White, just because the amount of media attention the Leprechauns get. But I would like to see Cole. Most improved then. Franz Wagner's obviously, in the conversation. Jalen Suggs potentially. Mikal Bridges, obviously at Brooklyn, he came into a role. He played very well back end of last season. He could. But for me, probably someone like Cade Cunningham, if he manages to stay injury free, potential. He was number 1 overall pick, wasn't he, for a reason? And he's got all the tools. So I think he could make a leap. So I'll probably stick my money on Cade Cunningham. If I was a betting man. And then the last one, I think it was coach what you said. Yeah. Mosley's in with a shout, we make that jump, we finish 4th, or, hopefully, people take notice. But other than that, it's probably Mark Daignault, I think, for OKC. I think OKC are primed to make a bit of a leap this year. And that, with Chet in there. Other than that, maybe, Joe Mazzulla, Boston obviously favourites to win it. If he'll win the East anyway, or up there in the top 2 at least. Maybe Nick Nurse if he does wonders with Philadelphia. But probably, if I was to stick my money on that, I'd probably go Daignault on OKC.
Interesting. Paul, what do you think? Daignault's an interesting shout.
Right. Well, I think G's kind of gone on the same route there as I am. I'd got him down because I'm going with that it's going to be from a team who take a leap. So if Detroit see some progression, Monty Williams could well be up there because he will get the credit for bringing that team on. Ime Udoka at Houston, that's a possibility. And equally, I've got Coach Mose. I think the coach could well come from one of the teams that takes a good leap and progresses through the season. So that's where I'm at. I'll go in reverse order on that then, because I've started with the coach. Let's go most improved. If we get some media attention, I think that we are in with a shout of somebody being in that conversation. Markel will, if he improves his scoring rate, he will get some attention because of the comeback story that he is. Jalen, and I think everybody, that's what needs to be said about him has been said. And the other guy, I think, who could start to be looked at as having been underrated and really making strides is Wendell Carter Jr. But it's like Geraint was reading my notes because I've got Cade as a possibility because again of how he's been out injured, and having the new coaching of Monty Williams, he could well see. I think Monty Williams' style of game will suit Cade's game, so he could well be that player. Sixth man, really, really difficult to gauge until we see what the rotations actually are. I again agree with G that I think the Boston side of things with White could well be where it comes from. However, if Chris Paul doesn't start for Golden State, the impact that he could have for that team coming off the bench could see him get an award because he hasn't had a deal of recognition in the awards over the years. So he could well be a dark horse for it.
Good shout there. You go?
Yes.
It's interesting. Some of the line of logic there, and it could be bad news for us, this, but a really good coach, potentially good coach on a team that be looking to have a bounce back's Quinn Snyder.
Yeah.
So there's another coach where a team could make a massive leap, depending if he's putting his print on it. And this is just on top of what you've already said. I think people are going to look at winning record teams, like if there's 60 win teams, people are going to look there first. So they're going to look at Boston, they're going to look at Denver, etc. I think if I was going for sixth man, I think G's shout of quickly is probably in the big markets. Somebody's going to get attention. I think Cole will be in the conversation. I think Derek White's going to be in the conversation. But again, if you're looking at winning teams, people will look at Bobby Portis, maybe.
Yeah, I'd thought of him as well, yeah.
Yeah, and I think Chris Paul's going to be somebody who, if he's on the bench, if he adapts to the role, will it go for that? Maybe. And then the most improved, it's an interesting one because we've got a bunch of players who could fit for this award, but I'm worried about what the media view is going to be. And I think there will be love for Cade Cunningham, probably rightly so. I think, don't forget that Houston are a big market. And if they have a turnaround, they're more likely to look at the Rockets than they are at the Magic. So I can see people looking at Jalen Green. I can see people looking at Jabari Smith. There's players who could take that leap. One player I think to keep an eye on, and I think this team's actually going to hinge on him this season about whether they're a contender or not, is Jonathan Kuminga. So I think he's going to be somebody who, again, media eyes are on. If you looked at a player who's going, and it's my last one, so I'll shut up, a player who's going to get possibly a lot of media attention and a lot of shots is Jordan Poole.
Yeah,
because he's got the rep, he's got the name. I'm not saying they're going to win a lot of games, but he could put up 30 a game on that team.
And he had a fallback last season.
Yeah,
he took a step backwards last season.
Yeah, so who's the focal point for that team?
Yeah.
It's him.
He took a step back as Draymond Green hit him.
Absolutely, mate.
So they're just some names that I've banded around where I think they could get minutes, they could get attention, they could have narratives. What I will throw one other name, I didn't dare do this, but somebody who I could see getting the most improved. I'm really sorry, G, is Austin Reeves.
Don't say it.
Because I think the way he was built up with the USA team in the summer, I think it's almost desperation that he's going to get noticed. And I think if the Lakers are just pretty good, the hype machine's going to go into overdrive for him. Anthony Davis in particular are going to get so much love.
Well, LeBron's going to give him his crown, apparently. So, yeah, probably right, mate.
Look, let's be honest. As much as it pains to say, the Lakers couldn't have done a much better job in the off season. The work that's gone on there is tremendous. And getting Austin Reeves for the price that they did, he's set up for that opportunity. Yeah.
Absolutely. So we've talked media, we've talked what's gone on. I think it's now time that we get to our star guest, and we're going to get prepared to welcome the voice himself, Mr. David Steele. So, Magic fans, we are now joined by the legendary voice of Orlando, Mr. David Steele. Welcome to the pod again, David. How are you doing?
Oh, it's just great. Great to be here with you guys. Always look forward to it. How's everybody there in the UK?
G, do you want to go first, Paul?
Go on, G.
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you, David. Obviously, very excited for the season. Having you back on our screens, you know, it's a sense of normality has arrived back again. You know, getting yourselves, JT and Dante back. Good times ahead.
Yeah, we've had our first telecast, so we got our feet on the ground, and we'll talk about the Brazilian guys tomorrow night and our guys on Friday, and then get this thing going on Wednesday of next week. Looking forward to it.
I think the excitement that we have as a team building around us, it just there's such anticipation from Magic fans for this season. And you looked at, well, we're going to talk about the games, but you looked at the excitement that was in that building on for the New Orleans Pelicans game, and it's palpable. It's palpable what this team can do.
Yeah, I tell you, being here, you know, we live right in the heart of Orlando, pretty much just about a mile or two from the arena. And a lot of people around here, it's an older neighborhood. And there are a lot of fans who were involved 25, 30 years ago, had tickets, were excited, you know, when the team was first just getting off the ground. And then, you know, things change, kids grow up, people gave up their tickets. A lot of people that live around here that I know, and they're re-engaged now. I mean, they see what's coming now, and you know they want to get back on the wagon. So I think that says a lot about, you know, where the franchise is now, because there is a lot of excitement in Central Florida, and you know, you guys feel it over in the UK, but here there's more excitement about the start of this season than I can remember in probably 10, 11 years.
I was talking to Sabrina, I know you know her. And she was saying that even for that first preseason game in Orlando against the Pelicans, it was crazy busy how many people were in the arena and the atmosphere that they were generating as a result.
Mm-hmm. No question.
It's great to see. It's great to see.
Yep. It's good to be back. Good to be
Absolutely.
back and becoming relevant again in the
Virtually
NBA.
the first time I've known it as a Magic fan.
I
know. So let's kick it off just talking about the first 3 preseason games. Obviously, great to have you back on the broadcast. You'll be able to watch the other 2 games from afar, David. There seems to be a real hunger from the team, in particular the defense seems to be the calling card. But what stood out for you from the first 3 performances?
You know, I'm going to go back, G, and you know, from the first day of training camp, Jamal Mosley is very generous to Jeff and Dante and me, and we're able to sit up in a crow's nest area and watch the team practice. And so we've made a lot of observations the first week, and then the 3 games since then. And from the very get-go, from the very first moment Jamal Mosley stepped out on the court for the first preseason practice, I felt like it just had a different feel. And Jamal had a different attitude and a different approach. Not that he hasn't been businesslike in the first 2 years, but you could just feel that there's a little more urgency right now. And Jamal, I think, has matured as a coach. The way that he has communicated to the guys I think he's kicked it up a notch. Maybe a little tougher on them, you know. But here's the thing with Jamal Mosley, he spent the first 2 years developing very good relationships with the players. And, you know, we have 14 guys back from last year. So he has relationships with every one of those individuals. They understand that he has their back, that he is only interested in helping them become the best basketball players that they can possibly become. So now when it's time to get, you know, a little more serious and you have a chance to really start doing something, when he says, you're not doing this, you got to do that, whatever, you know, calls them out, there's a bond there. There's a relationship, and they trust him, and they know that, you know, he's not just getting on them because he wants to get on them. It's with a purpose. So that's the first thing I've noticed, just that there is a level. He talks about leveling up, and there's definitely a leveling up this year in a big way. And the guys have been very engaged, very communicative, very supportive. and it just has a great feel about it. It really does.
David, just carrying on from that, much was made previously of the Magic needing to go out and get a star guard. But in these last couple of games, in the first couple of games, we've seen two distinct backcourt pairings of Markelle Fultz and Jalen Suggs, and Anthony Black and Cole Anthony. I know that Gary Harris came in place of Anthony in the second New Orleans game. But what are your thoughts from this limited number of games on the fit and the chemistry in the guard position?
Here's what I'm thinking, Paul. The competition is just fierce at practice. And, these guys are very close. They're great friends. But during the practice sessions, each guy's trying to get an edge over the other because they're fighting for minutes. And Jamal Mosley has said repeatedly over the last couple of years, when you get to a certain point and you have a lot of good players, which we do now, we have great depth, then the players are going to determine who gets the minutes. So it's all, it's all in their hands. And so when you have Cole Anthony battling Markelle Fultz in practice, and Jalen Suggs going after Markelle, and Markelle coming back at Jalen, and they're really getting after it because the practices have been very intense. Then you understand how much competition there is, and how important it is for these guys to play well. So every one of those guys has lifted up the other, and they're lifting each other up, and I think it's making them all better players. How the minutes shake out, I don't know, but it's a good problem to have, and Coach Mosley has it. And you know what he said the other night? We were talking about it. He said it's a problem I don't mind, because that's what we've been aiming to get towards. Where you got Cole, you got Markelle, you got Jalen, Gary Harris, Anthony Black is he's 19 years old. So as long as those other guys are healthy, I don't know how much of Anthony Black we'll see, because the other guys they've got the experience factor on him. But he's going to continue to get better as well. We see him making progress day by day, really, in training camp before leading up to the regular season. But I think you're probably going to see those four guards, and then Anthony is going to get opportunities whenever Jamal feels like he can get him in there. But with Gary Harris and Cole Anthony on that second unit, and Jalen and Markelle in the first unit, it's difficult to play more than four guards. And really, that Gary is a guard. He's been playing a little of the three because just shuffling lineups around a little bit. But that's how I think it'll play out. And as far as who gets the most minutes, it's going to be, whatever the coach feels like in the situation, and who's the most deserving guy based on what they do in practice.
I'm really liking the combination of Markelle and Jalen together.
They look good. They really do have a nice connection. Jalen, in particular, they've all had a great attitude, but he has really been super, I feel like, laser focused since day one. He really seems to have matured, and his leadership, we're seeing more of that. And he is an elite defender. I mean, there is just no question about it. He can do things defensively that not many guards in the NBA can do. So he's going to get his minutes because of the fact that you can put him on, 1, 2, or 3, really 3 positions, and he can come as close to locking a player down as a player can in the NBA today. It's tough to do.
It's interesting you say that, because I know I was going to ask about the minutes allocation, but just before we came on air, I saw a publication. I'm just going to mention it because it's relevant to what's being said. The Sport and News said the best defenders in the NBA, the top 50 best defenders in the NBA, and they didn't list Jalen Suggs in the top 50.
Or Jonathan Isaac, I guess, and maybe because of injury.
He got.
Did he make it?
32, number 32 is Jonathan Isaac.
32. Yeah, he's way better. He's top 5 when he's
the guy's going to climb that chart this season.
Yeah, he's special too. Those are two guys that defend as well as any players in the NBA, their positions. And J.I. multiple positions, Jalen too, for that matter.
Yeah, I did put a quick comment on saying about I thought Jalen Suggs would have appeared, but the top 5 were Draymond Green, Alex Caruso, Anthony Davis, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Brook Lopez. That was your top 5.
They're all good.
Yeah,
hard to argue with with them, all outstanding defenders. But J.I. is going to be on that list. He'll push somebody off of there if he can stay healthy this year.
Yeah, absolutely. So would you agree, David, that you mentioned there about Anthony Black, but obviously Jet Howard as well? It seems to be that in previous years where we've had like Paulo Banchero coming in, Franz and Jalen coming in, we knew they were going to get minutes, but the rookies are going to have to earn them this year due to the depth of the team.
Absolutely. Yeah, I do think so. And, you know, the best part about it is that we have no injuries right now. Knock on wood. I don't think I have any wood here. I'm not sure what it is.
Don't worry,
but,
we're all knocking.
Yeah.
Okay. But you know what I'm saying? We've been just devastated by injuries, and Kevon Harris is the only guy right now who has a sore knee. And other than that, the entire roster is healthy. So it's going to be hard for Anthony. It's going to be hard for Jet because of all the veteran guys that are up there. We added Joe Ingles this year, so there's another veteran player that Jet would be competing for minutes. So it's just going to be, can he impress the coaching staff? Can he mature? Can he figure things out? How quickly? Those two guys, I will say that the two rookies, Howard and Black, are very bright, very intelligent basketball players. They both are very well coached. Of course, Jet played for his dad at Michigan. He grew up around the NBA, was born, I think, in Miami when Jawan was a coach or player for the Miami Heat. So he's been around the NBA his whole life. And Anthony Black, his dad was one of the top college players in the Big 12 at Baylor, and actually played at the same time that Jamal Mosley was a college player. So his dad was first team All Big 12 at Baylor University. So, he grew up in a basketball family as well.
Pedigree behind him. There's the experience there to draw on. It's always useful to have somebody like that. But I'm going to listen. I'm probably going to ask the most obvious question going here. But there seems to be this almost telepathic link between Paolo and Franz on the court. It's incredible to watch. What are you expecting from those two this season?
Yeah, I was looking at that, Paul. I was looking at that because I had a feeling you might ask me about that connection. And Paolo and Franz connected with each other 89 times last year. So, there is a connection. One was assisting the other, and it was a pretty even split. It's really interesting. They come in, they're young guys, but they have such a mature feel for the game beyond their years. I mean, Paolo's still 20, and he hasn't turned 21 yet, and Franz has just turned 22. But they both have played so much basketball. And talk about basketball IQ, I was talking about Jet Howard and Anthony Black. Those are two guys with extremely high basketball IQs and just a great feel for the game, which, these are things that you can't coach. That, some players have great athleticism, and shot makers, playmakers don't have a great feel for the game, when to pass, when to shoot, where the openings are. And then on the defensive end as well, Paolo and Franz just have that gift. They've got it naturally. And then I would throw Wendell Carter Jr. in there too. He's another guy that can make plays. So you have all of these 6'10", 6'11" guys, Jonathan Isaac, that can not only score and defend, but they can be playmakers. And you can give them the ball, and they can, run pick and roll and run some other actions and create opportunities for each other. Really good passers, understand spacing and all of those things that give you a chance to play good offense. And it's one of the reasons we're going to be, I think, a very tough team to defend this year. All those big guys that know how to play the game.
We have some crazy depth.
We do.
Yes.
Really good depth.
David, I just want to ask you a question about, obviously in the 90s, the Magic had a very young Shaquille O'Neal, a very young Penny Hardaway. And then, they bring in Tree Rollins, Horace Grant, Donald Royal, people like that to steady the ship, so to speak. We obviously signed Joe Ingles in the offseason. Could you explain the importance of having veterans on the team and what, Joe can bring to the ball club, both in the locker room and on the floor?
We've seen it already. We've already seen his impact. The other night, we're standing right in front of Jeff Turner and me. Chuma Okeke was in the game late, and he made a mistake on a defensive assignment. And I saw Joe get up next to Jamal Mosley and was talking to Chuma and was really getting right in his face and pointing and, not in a harsh way, but just, explaining what his responsibilities were. He's been with the ball club just a very short period of time, but he comes in with the chops that the players respect because he's 36. He's been around in the NBA for a long time. Prior to that, he was one of the top players internationally, won a world title with Maccabi Tel Aviv, I think in 2014. So, he played on great teams in Utah. He played for the Milwaukee Bucks last year. He's a 40% career 3-point shooter and really another, really smart basketball player. That's one thing that we've seen. There's a lot of basketball intelligence out here, and Joe has the intelligence and he has the experience, not to mention the ability to be a valuable player. So, I agree. That signing got almost no recognition whatsoever. I mean, it was so far under the radar. But I think if we are as good as what I think that we can be and can be a playoff team this year, then I think Joe Ingles will be a big part of that, and there'll be some recognition for him and what he has done to help this team be successful.
It's also a game where he won't be scoring an absolute shed load of points against us like he always does.
Yeah, no, you're right. That's a budding is this anything, Paul. I'm glad you put your finger on that. I've been looking at those. I've been looking at that.
It's nice that I won't be sending
that one in there, mate, if you've already got the idea.
It's just nice to see some, have some chippiness on our team as well. Obviously, with Moritz Wagner and Joe Ingles now, people who are happy to stand up for themselves and, clap back a little bit to the officials and the opponents. You just like that on your team,
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. You got to have that guy or multiple that guys. And Mo Wagner has been that guy for a couple of years for us, and now he's got a running mate, push people around a little bit. It's going to be fun. I think Joe has been among the league leaders in technical fouls the last few years. So, he'll probably get teed up a few times. He already got one in the preseason.
He did.
Right? He's already gotten one. Yeah.
Yeah.
But hey, sometimes it's worth taking one for the team.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You don't win anything with all nice guys. You need to have a couple.
No, it's tough.
You need to have a couple. No. I'm happy for that.
I remember, we had Matt Barnes. He was that guy, for a few years. Was a tough, hard-nosed guy. So yeah, I think you're right. It does help to have that guy.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of other players who we've got on the team who are going to step into that energy as well. Like, I think Cole's got it in him. And I think Admiral Schofield's got it in him as well. So,
and Jalen plays with an edge too. Yeah.
I think I saw it quoted somebody the other day saying that Jalen, I'm sure it was Jalen, reminds them of Matt Barnes in some ways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. Yeah. Not a bad analogy.
Matt Barnes and Joe Ingles on the same team as Mr. Wagner. That'll be interesting. We'll break the text record for the league.
Yeah.
David, you touched on Jonathan Isaac earlier, and I think he's the X factor for the team because last season, when he was healthy, as you know, the Magic won 9 of 11. Unlucky not to have 10 really when GI featured. What do you see GI's role to be this season, and where might he figure in the rotation, considering we expect Paolo, Franz, and Wendell to be the starters on opening night?
It's one of the best things about this preseason camp is from day one to see Jonathan Isaac out there and just balling and not holding anything back. He's got no restrictions. They have held him out of just very precautionary, held him out of a few things here and there, and they've limited his minutes in the preseason. But he looks great. I mean, he has looked great from day one of the preseason practices. And, to me, he's a game changer. He like you said, Gary, you called him the X factor. That's a good way to put it, because if he can be healthy and can give us even 25 minutes a game, it's going to be an extraordinary lift for the basketball team because of the things that he's able to do, primarily on the defensive end. He's truly, I already talked about that, truly an elite defender, one of the top in the NBA. but his 3-point shot has improved. I know he sailed a couple the other night. I don't know what was going on. Someone may have opened a door, at the wrong time, and the breeze shot through. I don't know, but his 3-point shot looks great. His pull-up jumper, he's repeatedly made those in scrimmages in practice. Just rising up and shooting over the top of defenders, baseline fadeaway jumpers, and of course, great shot blocker and a great teammate. So he's on that second unit, and I tell you, that second unit with Cole Anthony, Gary Harris, Jonathan Isaac, Joe Ingles, and Mo Wagner, that group wins a lot of NBA games. And I think that there are going to be nights, if we can stay healthy, I think there are going to be nights where that second unit is the difference between winning and losing, because that's a strong group.
We need a nickname for them now, David.
Yeah.
What do you got?
We've got.
Oh, I don't know. We'll have to think.
Have to think about that.
I might put my "Is This Anything" hat
there
on.
You
and
go.
Think about it.
I'll give you something to think of, G. I'll give you something to think of. I think there's smart money on Cole Anthony to be in the shout for the 6th man of the year. There you go.
I can see that too. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, it's something we've discussed, but I've got a sneaky feeling that the Magic could have one or two players in consideration for the most improved or round defensive player of the year. We've got those players that are ready to take those steps, I think.
And All-Star, I think you could see Paolo and Franz knocking on the All-Star door too. It all depends. All of that is going to depend on how many games that we won. If you start 5-20 and you get forgotten, and you're not going to get many accolades at midseason. But if we can get off to a good start and be raising a few eyebrows around the NBA and people start talking about it, then we could have some individuals that are rewarded because of the team's success.
Coming back to Jonathan Isaac, I think it was something I described him as the other week, where because he's been absent from the team pretty much for so long, adding a player of his defensive capabilities back into the squad, it's almost like you've got a new player coming. He's going to be such a boost for that team.
Mm-hmm. It's almost mind-blowing when you see what he does. I mean, you just don't see defenders able to do what he is able to do. His agility and his quick leap and his timing on block shots, and just how he anticipates drivers, and he's such a smart player. So I mean, when he's on the floor, it's eye-popping. It just stands out, and he makes the team better. The one year I was looking at this, he played 75 games. I think it was 17-18. And isn't that the only winning season that the team has had since Dwight Howard left? I think that's the only one, and I don't think it's a coincidence that it was the year that Jonathan Isaac was healthy for all but just a handful of games.
The man offers us so much. I'm excited for him to be back. Really excited for this season.
I'm
hope
excited.
He can finish it out.
I'm excited. I saw the other night when, I know Paul, you'll probably cringe at this, but it was a Wembanyama highlights package again.
I've got no problem with the guy. Just
I know
the overhyping of him.
But
it's the overhyping in the media that's turning me off.
Well, the whole thing is like, what player in the NBA is best suited to guard Wembanyama? And I was kind of like, Jonathan Isaac.
Yes, absolutely. That would be a guy that would have a chance for sure.
I think Wendell
that'll be fun.
I think Wendell will enjoy the challenge as well. He's the guy who seems to love that physical challenge of going up against an elite player.
Wembanyama, pretty special. I'll have to say, it looks like he's going to be the real deal.
Yes, I don't dislike the guy. I've just got really tired
overhyped
of the overhyping that the media have of him, and Paolo got none of that.
Well, so exactly. Paolo, won national game this year, and how many has Victor got? 15 or so, and then same last year. Let's not go down that road.
That's what's done me with him. as opposed to actually Wembanyama himself, who I think is going to be a huge talent.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're going to go to our Patreon and listener questions. To start with, we've got Alan Kane, and he's asked how many wins for the season. He's predicting 40 to 45 wins. We have the benefit of preseason behind us. David, where would you start with that one?
Boy, to make a jump from 22 to 34 in 1 year and then from 34 to 44 or 45 in the next year would be remarkable. It's very hard to do. But the East, I think that being in the Eastern Conference, we have a chance to win a few more games maybe than if we were in the West. And again, it's all about staying healthy. But a healthy Magic team that we've seen so far is better than a 500 team. So I'll go 40. I'll just split the difference. What do you say? 40, 45. Alan said that. I'll go 43. How's that? Right in the middle.
Nice.
I'll take that.
Yeah, one more than me, David. I had 42, and I thought I was being optimistic. So I love it.
Gee,
love it.
that's so boring. You and I agreeing.
I know. Oh my God.
I was going bang on 500 season.
Oh no, that's 41 and 41. That is.
Yeah, sorry, 41, mate. Yeah, that's where I'm going. 41.
Oh,
That would be a huge success, Paul.
it would.
That would be, you jump from 22 to 34 to 41. That's serious progress. You're on your way.
I'm going 41, and that way I get to come to Orlando again for the playoffs.
Yeah.
That's my thinking.
How about you, Gary?
My floor is 39, and I think 39-42. I think in that range.
So we're all pretty much in the same area there.
And we're all thinking that the over/under is doing us a disservice again.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, last season's was ridiculous. I wish I'd put some money on it. I do really wish I had, because it was so obvious that we were going to be leaping past that figure that they'd got for us last year.
The thing is when you do that, then you think of the injury record. Because I looked at that and then I just went, no, don't do it. you know what the injuries are, and I didn't want to jinx anyone, so I just laid right off on that one. So we've also got Jamie Brown, who's sent a good question in, and he's asked, after having a threadbare squad, do we now have too many players? Jamie says he's all for squad depth, but also believes he wants to keep players happy with playing time. So what would the thoughts be? Like, David, you're the guest of honor, so we'll start with you.
My thought would be you can't have too much talent. I'm not buying into that. If you got guys that you have to have the right people, that want to, you could have the wrong players that have too much talent or too evenly talented. But if you have players who understand what their roles are and have been coached like Jamal has coached these guys, I don't think it's possible for the Magic. I think guys are pulling for each other, and it can only, like I said earlier, as we talked about it can only make everybody better. So no, I'm not concerned about that. I think it's a good problem to have.
Absolutely. Any thoughts on that, G?
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with David. But what we saw in training camp was Coach Mosley having 3 teams to scrimmage with, and he could put the potential starters together, potential second unit together, and also have a third string just to throw to mix it up. And he hasn't had that last couple of seasons. We've seen injuries to Markel, Jalen, etc. J.I. not playing, so it's the first time we've fully had a proper pre-season ready to prepare for the players to come back. So that's, going to stand us in good stead. And like what David said, having all this talent, you use what you need to. And you mentioned as well, people are going to fight to get minutes. And that's what you want, just to get the best out of everybody. And, hopefully then the product on the court will get the W's and keep us all happy.
Paul, anything you would jump on the back of there?
Mate, for me, bring it on. Let's have that competition. Because if you can get, if through our depth, we've got a healthy competition for places and minutes, it's a good thing. So long as the coach can manage egos and expectations. But Jamal Mosley strikes me as a guy who can get all the guys to buy into the value of winning as a unit, as opposed to the individual glories. And I think he's that type of person that can get people to buy into that team ethic. So yeah, it's all good. Bring it on. Great problem to have.
I don't want to use the word because it's a word that's used a lot more down in the south of Florida, but I think there's a culture at the Magic, and I think I think you can see it. I think when you look at any videos and such, and photographs and player interactions on social media, there's definitely a culture that's came in with the types of people who we've brought into the club, and then Joe Ingles obviously being the veteran there, but he brings his own stamp. And I think all of those players, where you look at competition, for example, the backcourt, all of those guys will believe they are truly the guy who should be getting the minutes, and it'll just be a case of, "I'll prove it." Positions are up for grabs, earn them, and I think that's what we'll see. But after all the injuries we've had, I'm quite happy to have that problem.
Yeah, makes a hell of a change.
It does, and moving from injuries and squad depth to actually what the players will be wearing. Paul, I can see just over your shoulder there, you've got what I think
Absolutely.
That's the Mitchell and Ness version, isn't it?
It is. Yes.
Yeah,
I don't have the authentic in the same way as yourself, my friend.
I got a deal on Nike on that, which I was very surprised at. So I wasn't going to get the jersey at one price, but then I saw another price and I went, I will buy it at that price, which I'm happy about. It's really good quality, actually. And we saw a load of nostalgia photos dropping this week, throwbacks to the 90s. Unreal. Absolutely unreal. I actually thought they were sitting in G's room. I saw that picture. I saw the figures and all the magic. And I was like, are they in G's house right now?
Yeah,
but
you could be.
It looks like it. Honestly, it does.
Yeah, I know. My wife doesn't like this part of the house. It's my part.
But you were allowed that part of the house, G.
Yeah.
So
I'm the man of the house.
You've got that little nook and she's got the rest, right?
Basically, David. Yeah, you've got it, mate. You've got it. Got it. Nailed it. Yeah.
You're the man of the house, G.
Yeah, I know. Kevin from Home Alone.
David, when you're seeing all the nostalgia hits coming through and the Stars jersey, how do you feel about seeing that jersey back and everything that comes with it?
Man, it really pops. I love it. It looks like you got T-Max jersey behind you, Paul.
Nice.
Number one, yeah, with that old throwback to the T-Mac era. I think it's great. 35-year celebration is going to be fun. The court is going to look spectacular when they put that 35th anniversary court. And then also you haven't talked about this, the in-season tournament. I don't know if you guys know this, but every team has a special court for the tournament games, and I've seen what they look like. They're very cool. Every team's court looks similar but different based on obviously the logo and the team that's involved. But yeah, I think watching the games on TV, it's going to be very pleasing to the eye this year for a number of reasons: uniforms, courts, quality of play. It's all good.
Yeah, I hear the new City uniform is going to be absolutely popping.
Yeah, that's what I hear too. I look forward to it.
Were you at the second media day that the team did this week?
No, I was not.
It sounds like that was a lot of fun. I think that's where they did some of the these retro throwback scenes.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. Oh, it all looks great. Really good. Very well done.
Did you get throwbacks to Heart and Hustle, David?
No, I guess not. I do love the Heart and Hustle group. That was right before T-Mac got here. But that's one of my favorite groups of guys for sure.
But you know these jerseys. Obviously, everyone remembers the Heart and Hustle, remembers T-Mac. My second season following the Magic was when they changed to these ones. So I had Penny, Nick, Horace Grant, Ike Austin, people like that, when the Magic finished third in the East and we lost to Philadelphia 3-1. I think it was a best of 5 in the playoffs.
Short season. I think it was a short season, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was a lockout shortened season. And my favorite rookie of all time, Matt Harpring, was on the squad. And, that just takes me back to that team when I first started, when I was, 15 or something like that. So, I love him. Love him.
I
Have
do
you
too.
treated yourself, David, to one of the jackets?
No, I haven't. I put one on. They let me put it on briefly, and I think somebody took a picture of it. I haven't seen the photo yet, but no, I haven't been able to get one of those.
Did
I'd
you
like
not
to
run
have
from the
one of
building
those. I'm
very
not sure.
quickly?
I'm not sure where I would wear it, but I'd like to have it. Where do you wear that thing? I'm not sure.
G would wear it for mowing the lawn.
I, I'll be picking one up in February.
Where are you
You're
going to
gonna get
wear it
one.
at, G?
I don't know. I'm gonna be too scared to wear it, aren't I? Because of the price tag on it.
You're going to be too scared to wear it because Amy doesn't know you've bought one.
Yeah, that's true as well.
I think
Good thing she doesn't listen.
you've got to get matching trousers to go alongside it.
I'll sort something out. Just
Yeah, it
couple
would
of
have to be the whole look.
Yeah, Ryan Anderson wore.
I think you'll rock it, G.
Ryan looked good. He wore it well.
He did.
Yeah.
So with the nostalgia drop happening, David, honestly, thank you for giving us so much tonight in your time, and thank you for also doing the listener questions that's come through. That's massively appreciated. I know when the guys log on and listen to the podcast, they're going to be a lot happier hearing your thoughts than ours on that. But
No, you guys are great. I appreciate you having me on. It's a great podcast.
Thank you,
Thank you.
David. We
Thank you
love
so
having
much.
you. We thank you all every time we see you. We thank you for your friendship and genuinely mean it.
We enjoy it. Thanks. I look forward to seeing at least some of you in Florida this year, right? Not everybody, but
April.
somebody's
April,
going
my
to make it.
We are
Absolutely.
coming in April. It's happening.
All right.
Yeah, I'll see you in
Thanks,
February.
fellas.
so, guys, it's been an episode. It's been an episode and a half, it feels like, and we're always honored to have Mr. Steele on to join us. And I think that's made everybody's cold night in the UK just that little bit better as we're recording this, and it's 10 p.m. So, as always, thank you for listening. Remember, follow us on socials. It's Orlando Magic UK across them all. Like and subscribe on your favorite podcast platforms and YouTube. Really, it helps us. Check out our bespoke T-Mill store in the links in the description. And if you're shopping on the NBA store, we're not saying it's the best discount code, but it is one you could use, and it's Magic UK 10. So from G, from the Content King, from myself, go Magic.